Hey guys, it's Kate 420. I'm back. Um, I'm sorry about this morning. It was a very quick video. It was shocking to say the least to find out that it wasn't shocking that he was dead. We all knew that he would never make it once they denied him bail. It was shocking that the very day after the 2000 documents were unsealed from the court from the last case and big names were released. We're going to get into that because I was going to do a live today. That's just going to take too long. There's too many people doing lives. We need to get my channel up, guys. It's been a while. I know I've been slacking. You've been hanging in there, coming back, watching my stuff here and there when it pops up. I promise I'm going to start putting out consistent content if you just commit to me. Come back, hit the subscribe, share my videos, do what we can to get people to start subscribing to my channel again. And then I have my live stream set up. I got an encoder today. It's a bunch of crap. Anyway, I'll get back to business. I promise you. I'm back. So, this morning he was found dead in his cell. Now, there's some inconsistencies that we really need to talk about. Let's go. First and foremost, yesterday, these were some of the documents that were released yesterday, and they were unsealed because they were sealed during his sweetheart plea deal he made, and I believe it was like 2008. And I literally was going to sit here today and go through these question and answers to you guys, so you had some type of idea, the type of stuff that was going on here. Let me get to I want to get to this one page. Undisputed facts. See that? Undisputed facts. Wanted you to see that first. Okay? Now, here we go. It is an undisputed fact that multiple witnesses deposed in this case have testified that the defendant operated as a convicted pedophile, Jeffrey Epstein's procurer of underage girls. They're speaking of Ghislaine, or Ghislaine, as I like to call her, Ghislaine Maxwell, whose father was a Israeli super spy. No joke there. But I want you to understand this, okay? It says, it is an undisputed fact that Joanna Joberg testified the defendant lured her from her school to have sex with Epstein under the guise of hiring her for a job answering phones. These were all girls whose parents were drug addicts or who were homeless or were troubled girls. These were girls that were on honor roll. That just wait. We're gonna get between now and I'm gonna do about 3 episodes. It's gonna take to go through this paper, these files, and not drown people out, because if I go through it all at once, I'll lose you halfway and you'll miss the very most important stuff. So it says okay, here we go. Ms. Joberg's account of her experiences with the defendant are chillingly similar as with Miss Giuffre. This is Virginia, used to be Roberts. She was the one that is claiming she had sex with not only Prince Andrew, but Bill Clinton, Governor Richardson. All those names came out. Well, Bill Clinton hasn't come out yet, but she claims she did. It's not in the paperwork yet that we found. But I believe her. Why would she put her life at risk, you guys? Anyway, a young college student made it nearly 2,000 miles from home. She instructed Miss Joberg to massage Epstein and made it clear that his purpose was to bring him to orgasm during these massages, so that the defendant did not have to. That meaning Ghislaine. So, question: when did you first meet Miss Maxwell? Answer: 2001. March, probably end of February, beginning of March. Okay. Answer, or question: how did you meet her? Answer: she approached me while I was on campus at Palm Beach Atlantic College. How long did you work in that position answering phones? Just that one day. And what happened the second time you came to the house? At that point, I met Emmy Taylor. She took me to Jeffrey's bedroom, and he was present. And her and I both massaged him. She was showing me how to massage. And then he took he got off the table. I'm reading it just as it says, you guys. She got off on the table and she took off her clothes, got on the table, and then was showing me. Then he was showing me moves that he liked. And then I took my clothes off. They asked me to get on the table so I could feel it, and they both massaged me. Question: who did Emmy work for? Answer: Ghislaine. Question: did Maxwell ever refer to any by any particular term? Answer: she called her slave. Did Jeffrey ever tell you why he received so many massages from so many different girls? Answer: he explained to me in his opinion he needed to have 3 orgasms a day. It was biological, like eating. Question: was there anything you were supposed to do in order to get the camera? The witness: I did not know there were expectations of me to get the camera until after that. She, the defendant, Ghislaine, purchased the camera for me, and I was over there giving Jeffrey a massage. I did not know that she was in possession of the camera until later. She called me after I had left and said, I have the camera for you, but you cannot receive it yet because you came here and didn't finish your job. I had to finish it for you. And you understand, or question, and what did you understand her to mean? Answer: she was implying I did not get Jeffrey off, and so she had to do it. Question: when you say get Jeffrey off, do you mean bring him to orgasm? Answer: yes. Based on what you knew, did Maxwell know that these types of massages Jeffrey was getting typically involved sex acts? Answer: yes. Okay, we're going to move on a little bit because there's another part I want you to hear about. This is regarding her. It says, question: tell me everything that you remember about what Miss Roberts, as Virginia, okay, said about being intimate with Miss Maxwell and Mr. Epstein at the same time. I remember her talking about it, like strap-ons and stuff. I mean, like I said, all the details aren't really clear, but I remember her talking about how they would always be using stuff and stuff like that. She and Miss Maxwell and Epstein would use strap-ons. He answered. Other than sex with the prince, regarding Prince Andrew, everyone, other than sex with the prince, is there anyone else Jeffrey wanted Miss Roberts to have sex with that she relayed to you? Mainly, like I said, Miss Maxwell and all the other girls. Question: Miss Maxwell wanted Jeffrey and Virginia to have sex, Miss Maxwell wanted Virginia to have sex with Miss Maxwell. Sorry. Answer: and him. Yes. Question: and did she tell you whether she had ever done that? Answer: yes. She said that she did. Question: and what did she describe having happen? Answer: I believe I already told you that, with strap-ons, dildos, everything. Down here. Question: when Ghislaine Maxwell would call you during the time that you were in the living room with Virginia, she would ask you what specifically? Answer: just if I had found any other girls to bring to Jeffrey. They were paying these girls to go back to their school and find other girls. Now, I want to talk to you about something that's a little bit disturbing. So if you are sensitive or there's some things that you can't handle, please, bear with you. Mute it for a minute because this is not great, or fast forward it. It gets very detailed here. Ronaldo Rizzo, he was the Butler guy. He's the one that leaked the black book. House manager for one of the defendant's close friends, Eva Dubin. Mr. Rizzo testified through tears how while working at Dubin's house, he observed defendant bring a 15-year-old Swedish girl to Dubin's house. Defendant is Ghislaine Maxwell. Remember that, guys. That's the procurer, the Madame, Epstein's partner for years. In distress, the 15-year-old girl tearfully explained to him that defendant tried to force her to have sex with Epstein through threats and stealing her passport. Question: how old was this girl? Answer: 15. Question. Describe for me what the girl looked like, including her demeanor and anything else you remember about her when she walks into the room. Answer. Very attractive, beautiful young girl, makeup, very put together, casual dress. But she seemed to be upset, maybe distraught. She was shaking as she sat down. She sat down and sat in the stool exactly the way the girls that I mentioned to you sat at Jeffrey's house, with no expression, with their heads down. But we can tell that she was very nervous. Question, what do you mean by distraught and shaking? What do you mean by that? Answer, shaking. I mean they're literally quivering. What did she say? Answer, she proceeds to tell my wife and I that, and this is blurting out, not a conversation like I'm having a conversation. That quickly, just blurted it out. He's saying, she says, I was on an island. And there was Ghislaine and there was Sarah. She said they asked me for sex. And I said no. And she is just rambling. And I'm like, what? She said, I asked her. I said, what? And she said, yes. Again, look, I was on an island. I don't know how I got from the island to here. Oh my God, you guys. He's drugging them. Island he owns is the island Little St. James. If you're not familiar with the story, if you haven't followed my videos or the news, he owns 2 islands, Little and Big, but Little is known as Pedophile Island, and there's been known for it to have underground tunnels where he's kept sex slaves. That hasn't all come out yet. It's going to come out, and if you don't believe it, keep listening, because when you hear what is in these reports, you will understand why he was such a target to all the ruling class. Anybody with power in this country right now and other countries has been their butt cheeks have been clenched for the last 2 weeks waiting for this to come out and find out whose names were going to be leaked in these documents, who would be going down with Epstein. And that information literally came out less than 24 hours ago. And if you're just tuning in, Jeffrey Epstein is dead in his jail cell, somewhere between 6:38 and 7:30 this morning. There's some discrepancies in the time. Let's go back to where I was talking. I was on an island. I do not know how I got from the island to here. Last afternoon or in the afternoon, I was on the island, and now I'm here. And I said, this isn't making any sense. I said, this is nuts. Do you have a passport? Do you have a phone? She says, no. Ghislaine took my passport. And I said, what? She said, Sarah took her passport and her phone, gave it to Ghislaine Maxwell. And at that point, she said she was threatened. I said, threatened? She said, yes, I was threatened by Ghislaine not to discuss this. And I'm just shocked. So the conversation, and she's just rambling on and on. Again, I'm like, how she got here, she doesn't know. How she got here. Again, I asked her, did you contact your parents? She says no. At that point, she says, I am not supposed to talk about this. I said, how did you get here? I don't understand. We were totally lost for words. And she said before she got there, she was threatened again by Jeffrey and Ghislaine not to talk about what I had mentioned. Again, she used the word sex. And this time you say she was rambling. Her demeanor continues to be what you described it. Yes. Question, was she in fear? Answer, yes. Question, you could tell? Answer, yes. Answer, she was shaking uncontrollably. Guys, what I just read if you have kids, you should be holding them tight and thanking God that you're a good parent and protect your children, because there was 13, 14. I'm according to some evidence that's released in these documents that we're going to get to. I'm not going to do it this in this video, but come back later to my channel. I'm going to be releasing the pictures and the messages that were released yesterday. And on those messages, you guys, there's some questions about whether or not 2 8-year-old girls from France were flown over for Epstein's pleasure. I believe it may have been a birthday. Let's talk about this next quick part. It is an undisputed fact that Lynn Miller is Virginia Roberts' mother, her biological mother. This is what she testified in court, you guys. This kind of freaked me out. Was this another parent that just sold her kid or what? Lynn Miller is Jeffrey's mother. She testified that when Miss Jeffrey started to live with the defendant, meaning Miss Maxwell and Mr. Epstein, but in this case, it's Miss Maxwell, Ghislaine, became Miss Jeffrey's new mama. Listen, guys, the defendant, which is her mother, Maxwell, testified that she could barely remember Virginia. Okay, wait a minute. So this lady, the biological mother, said when her daughter went to live with Miss Jeffrey, basically this rich socialite was going to take her daughter in and put her in a good school and let modeling, and she was her new mother. She was going to treat her as if she was her own child. That's what Miss Miller thought. But in court, in this case, Miss Maxwell said she could barely remember the girl, what she looked like. That's how little she had contact with her. My ass. It's undisputed that Detective Joseph Ricari testified he sought to investigate the defendant in relation to his investigation of Jeffrey Epstein. So it goes on, but it goes on to talk about names. Nadia Marcinkova, guys. This is the girl that was brought, I believe, maybe from the Ukraine or Kosovo. When she was 9 or 10 years old, her parents sold her to Epstein and Ghislaine, and she was a slave that they have raised up, and she now works for Jeffrey's brother, Mark Epstein. I wonder how they're feeling today. Hi, Mark. Hi, Nadia. Marcinkova changed your name to something else now. It starts with an M. I can't think of it. And guys, the other girl that was being referred to as Sarah is Sarah Kellen. She has married a famous race car driver named Kensington, last name Kensington. So now she is known by Sarah Kensington. Look her up, NASCAR driver's wife. Nobody talks about her being a procurer of girls. She got immunity in this sweetheart deal. But now that Jeffrey's dead, are they going to go after Ghislaine and all the other procurers for their justice? I would. They better. They've already got a case. They just released all this. Why would they not? Why would they throw this whole case away? You can prosecute Maxwell with the same things that you could prosecute Epstein with, because she participated in 99.9% of the crime, and she knows where the bodies are buried. All right, guys, I'm going to come back to this. I want to go talk about some things. There's some names that came out yesterday. Daily Caller. Alleged Epstein victim says she was handed off to Prince Andrew, Bill Richardson, and more for sex. Yes, this is a little bit of a right-leaning site. We'll get to that. Unsealed documents, which you guys were just reading with me, were revealed Friday that Virginia Roberts Jeffrey named former New Mexico Governor Bill Richardson. That's very important, guys. Remember, Jeff Epstein owned what? Property in New Mexico. He had a ranch in New Mexico. Lots of pictures I'm going to show you later in the next video are from Virginia on the New Mexico ranch. So this Governor Bill Richardson having sex with these young girls is very important, because that means he was being paid off to look the other way. Don't investigate this. Stay away from Jeff Epstein. Here, have yourself a 12-year-old. Britain's Prince Andrew, yes, as in the Queen's favorite son, Prince Andrew, among men to whom accused sex trafficker Jeff Epstein farmed her out for sex. According to the documents, Jeffrey listed the Prince and Richardson along with Epstein attorney Alan Dershowitz, who made his rounds on every news station for the last month, including The Frickin' View, protesting how these documents would prove his innocence. That once these documents were released, his innocence would be shown to all. Well, guess what? Dershowitz, you're done. You're dirty. You should be prosecuted along with the rest of these fucking scum. Yes, there goes my monetization. Oh, well. It's worth it. There's our little pedophile favorite Prince Andrew, huh? Yeah. He's see, Jeffrey claimed she was 15. That's where she was working, guys. Mar-a-Lago. I believe that between her and the second girl that was tried to be procured from Mar-a-Lago, this is what kept Trump from ever getting close to Epstein, for real. Because Trump had his business associations. When Epstein kept procuring girls from his Mar-a-Lago hotel and spa, the head spa lady did an interview recently, and she also did an interview, I believe, with the Virginia Roberts' lawyer. But Trump offered the information up to Virginia Roberts' lawyer saying, look, he was banned from Mar-a-Lago. We had complaints that he was harassing young girls that works here. So anyway, she was approached by his assistant, Ghislaine, who promised to get her educated and offer her a job as a traveling masseuse. So again, when her mother says, when she went to live with Ghislaine, she was going to be her new mother, she wasn't exaggerating. She wasn't making things up. This was real deal. Then Ghislaine says, I barely know her. She brought me here under the preclusion that I was going to be trained as a masseuse. She instructed me to take off my clothes and give oral sex to Jeffrey Epstein. Noting that Epstein and Maxwell used words like massage or modeling when they really meant sex. From that point on, Jeffrey traveled all over the world with Epstein and Maxwell, offered her up for sex to his friends who traveled with them. Hedge fund billionaire Glenn Dubin was the first man Epstein directed Jeffrey to have sex with. We're going to have to check him out. Ghislaine told me from her mouth to do these things. Jeffrey told me from his mouth to do these things with these people. Ghislaine instructed me to do the thing I did with Jeffrey on the very first meeting I had with him. Maxwell also gave a deposition that contradicted many of Jeffrey's claims. I have been absolutely appalled by her story, appalled by the entire mischaracterization, and I apologize. She said, okay. Wow. Maxwell claimed Jeffrey lied about former President Bill Clinton being on the island with Epstein. This is the subject of defamation about Virginia and the lies she has told. And one of the lies she told was that President Clinton was on the island where I was president. Absolutely 1000%. Is that a flat out total fabrication? Well, that's been proven since. So, and then of course, Alan Dershowitz is still pleading his innocence. He's saying that this lawyer's out to get him, and there's he's also aware there's unsealed emails in a book manuscript where my false accuser admits she never had sex with me. But no, these unsealed things came out today. There, Dershy, what do you got to say for yourself, Dersh? So then where was that? Let's make sure there's nobody else. Richardson. Oh, yep. Never mind. Richardson got $50,000 in donations from Epstein, right? Where did it go? Dershowitz. Anyway, I want to get to the point, guys. Get to the big point. Let's get to the jail. Okay? When you're a federal inmate, you basically, your docs policy doesn't go by the state you're in. It goes by the Department of Justice. Okay, guys? And what Jeff Epstein was in was the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York. Now we're going to have a little conversation real quick. If you haven't seen my video from this morning, real quick, I'm going to show you the picture that New York Post has put out. Oh, come on. There we go. Here we go. This is supposed to Epstein being wheeled out this morning. Let's see if I can zoom. I'm not, trying to be gory or anything, but some people have said it doesn't look like him. To me, it looks very much like him, and he's very purple. Very purple. Oops, sorry. Anyway, so there he is being wheeled out. Here's where the stuff starts to get a little messed up, guys. What starts to get messed up is that they say, he was wheeled out, or excuse me, it says in the article 6:38 a.m. something, he was found in his cell, but then when it says he was pronounced dead, it says he was pronounced dead at 7:30. So apparently he was in cardiac arrest. Okay, he was in cardiac arrest here, and they're saying, but nobody's doing CPR on him. They're just maybe I guess I'm assuming. Let me just rephrase that. They could have been doing CPR on him, but anyway, we're gonna go. Where's it? Is this it? Oh, wrong one. Sorry, guys. Metropolitan Correctional. Here we go. So let's go right to it. We're in the Metropolitan Correctional Center. This is about all federal prisons, federal prisoners, federal prison resources, so on and so forth. Okay, so I went through a lot of this at first to kind of figure out. And it led me to this. Here we go. Suicide watch conditions. Okay. Housing. Each institution must have one or more. Now, mind you, the reason Jeffrey Epstein was on suicide watch, guys, was because less than 3 weeks ago, I believe, 3 weeks now, maybe, or something like that, he had a suicide attempt. Here. He was found on the floor, fetal position, injuries to his neck. There was some thought that maybe he was trying to get attention, trying to get better conditions, trying to get moved. Here, a lot of people complain about the Metropolitan Center Correctional. We're going to look at that in a minute. But for right now, it just says that each institution must have one or more room designed specifically for inmate suicide watch. Why is that? Because an inmate on suicide watch must have eyes on him 24/7. I mean, it's called constant, consistent, unobstructed care. Okay, so it means eyes have to be on that inmate at all times. If one person has to take a break, they cannot take their eyes off that inmate until there's another person sitting down in front of the door staring at the inmate. The inmate has no clothes, no sheets, no blankets, no pillow, no nothing but a smock, a heavy smock that they're wearing. Now, mind you, Epstein had been on suicide watch for 3 weeks. I'm wondering if he didn't convince the psychologist that he was doing better just to get some of his stuff. I don't know. We're going to find out. You know that. There's too many people asking questions. Matter of fact, there's a bipartisan, of all people, guys, AOC is screaming, she's leading a bipartisan call for answers on Epstein's suicide, of all people. But hey, you know what? I don't care who's doing it as long as someone's doing it. And with her platform right now, she's the one that can get this done. So, hey, let her do it. Back to this. Okay, staff or trained inmate observers operating in scheduled shifts are responsible for keeping the inmate under constant, see that? Observation. Only the warden may authorize the use of inmate observers. I doubt that. I've never seen that or heard of that, but I guess it could happen in case they were, short on staff. Inmate observers are considered to be in an institution work assignment when they're on their scheduled shift. Observers are to document significant, every 15 minutes they write in a log, you guys. There's a suicide watch log. I read more onto the other site, and it's every 15 minutes they say sleeping, going to the bathroom, itching their forehead, whatever. That they have to write down what that inmate's doing. So then it says, based on clinical findings, the program coordinator or designee will either remove the inmate from suicide watch, who is no longer, that's what I'm wondering. Did they remove him and they didn't report that? But I don't think so, because it says he's such high profile. Like El Chapo, he didn't even have a suicide attempt, but he was on 24-hour watch. You know what I'm saying? He was on. He had constant care. So anyway, all right, there we go. Termination arranged for the inmate's transfer to a medical center. So they didn't do that because he got transferred by having CPR. Back to this. This is the MCC, New York. Okay. This is what I wanted to show you guys. This is the MCC guys about what was it, last year? Yeah. February. No, this was this year. Locked inside a freezing federal jail, they united to protest their conditions only to face reprisals. I wanted to read this because MCC's had a lot of bad press, and this is only gonna make it worse. MCC has been known for corrupt COs, bringing in and out things for gang members. Let's go on. Jordan remembers jolting awake in his cell in the Metropolitan Detention Center, Brooklyn, New York, in the early morning hours, February 2nd, being hit with pepper spray to the face. Jordan is who the Intercept is identifying by pseudonym, said the guards sprayed, shackled him and his cellmate, and led them partially blind to the shower to rinse off. He spent several hours in a freezing unit, only wearing boxers and a t-shirt before being transferred to solitary confinement. Their objective was to make an example out of Myceli and I, since Jordan, who had since been relocated to another federal detention facility, wrote The Intercept. The raid on the cell came after the men locked up on his unit, having endured 6 days, guys, without heat, without electricity, without phones or hot meals. 6 days they went. Decided to cover their cell doors with cardboard, towels, and toilet paper in order to disrupt the guards' daily tally of incarcerated people. We were trying to demonstrate that enough was enough, Jordan explained through email. Anybody with a brain and a tad bit of self-respect would think to protest those conditions. We just wanted to be treated like humans. Later that morning, throngs of family members and others, including local and national elected officials, gathered outside in the parking lot for a weekend of protests against the jail's conditions. We'll go to that real quick. I'll show you. I actually watched that live, you guys. So maybe not. It's not going to connect. Anyway, with the news media looking on, people banged on their cell windows. Unbeknownst to the outside, though, the Metropolitan Detention Center was brimming with prisoners challenging their conditions in other ways. Large and small, both individual and collective, all of them were met with reprisals. Accounts from incarcerated people, their family members, and lawyers sketch a picture of widespread protests at the Sunset Park facility. People across multiple housing units undertook coordinated acts of nonviolent disobedience and at least 3 hunger strikes. Retaliation ranged from pepper spray, solitary confinement, to shutting off toilets across the entire facility. Wow. All told, men on at least 4 housing units inside the jail say they took part in some collective protests. In each instance, they say their actions were met with official retaliation. When I see protests of that kind took place in the MDC, I conclude that prisoners have really reached their breaking point because they know they are taking very significant risks, said the head of the ACLU National Prison Project. Except when Rep. Jerry Nadler, who oversees the Bureau of Prisons, toured the MDC during the power outage, incarcerated people told him that they were afraid to talk about what was going on because of the Bureau of Prison staff. They told him guards would come up and retaliate. And Robert Gotham, Nadler's district director, who accompanied him on the tour, the risk seemed worthwhile to some. Police in here wild and out inside, one incarcerated person said in audio from an inside the jail obtained by and authenticated by The Intercept. They're trying to make us go against each other, but we're not falling for their traps. Everybody's just trying to keep the peace amongst everybody in here, no matter what walk of life they come from. We're just trying to stay strong, but they're trying every trick in the book. Because sources inside the MDC fear further retaliation for speaking about what took place in there over recent weeks. The Intercept is withholding the names of the people who are confined at the jail, as well as other information that might identify them, like the names of their individual lawyers, family members, or housing units to which they're assigned. The Bureau of Prisons, which runs the federal jail, declined to answer a list of questions about protests and reprisals. Allegations of misconduct are thoroughly investigated and appropriate action is taken, blah, 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 says a spokesperson. Exactly. Here's them going in. A bomb threat got reported during this whole thing too. One unit was locked down, according to two lawyers. Their clients were there residing were initially let out of their cells one at a time at meal times to receive a tray, but ordered back in their dark, cold cells to eat. On February 1st, the sixth day of the power outage, one man from this unit decided to make a gesture of resistance, sitting down to eat his dinner on the unit's common area, where the dim illumination of the emergency lights allowed him to see his food. Within seconds, as others looked on from their cells, 8 guards in riot gear entered the area and removed the man in handcuffs who witnessed the events to assume that he'd been moved to, or those who witnessed the events assumed he got moved to shoe. Wow, guys, this is pretty bad. So anyway, you can find more on this. MDC has already had a lot of trouble. There were some famous people demonstrating. This was all just, less than, 6-7 months ago. And it was a cold winter, you guys. I'm a New Yorker. I know it was cold in February. We had some below zero nights. These guys had no electric, no nothing for 6 days. So, and the only option they had was to starve themselves. So this is the jail we're talking about that Epstein was in, and he's a billionaire who was used to having things done his way. And I'm just assuming that this is going to come down to a whole lot of screw ups. Somebody took their eyes off him long enough, which he was either, you guys gotta understand, as this stuff's being leaked on the news, you've got officers and other inmates who are just constantly that pedophiles don't fare well. Famous, rich, celebrity pedophiles are targets. Every man in there wants to be the man who exacts justice on the billionaire pedophile. So don't think for a second that he hasn't already got some stuff done. He got pushed to the point of suicide within the first 2 weeks. As soon as he got denied bail, he already attempted, and now less than 3 weeks after that, he's dead, guys. Do I think that this is one of these rich and famous people, got somebody in? No, what I think is MCC, MDC, MCC, whatever you want to call it, is a shitty correctional facility with hang on, let me say this right, undertrained officers who are literally there to get a check and don't care about their job, as in, treating these men. Knowing these men are already punished by being there, and that their job isn't to punish them further. You don't find that very often. So what I'm saying is do I think that the time of day it was rated shift change? Do I think somebody screwed up and took their eyes off him because they thought he was still sleepy? Oh yeah, hang on, let's go have a quick cigarette, cup of coffee real quick. Well, I gotta be stuck here for the next 4 hours with this dickhead. That's exactly how they think, and that's exactly how they talk. And let me tell you, I got personal experience. I ain't talking about something I read off the internet. I'm telling you how they talk. And you, as an inmate, learn to listen with your ear. Even you have one eye open and one ear listening at all times. And so even when you're sleeping, you hear everything that's going on. You know every time them keys pass your door. And if somebody got up, all it took was a couple of minutes. And I don't know how he's done it yet, but we're going to find out. And I'm telling you, there's going to be big changes at MCC. Big changes. Guys, listen, if you want to know more, you want to see some of the actual physical evidence, or you're interested in going in deeper into these court papers, I'm going to do a part 3 here in about a half hour. I want to just touch up on a couple things, and then I'll be back. But thank you for sticking around, and let's Figure out what happened. Listen, this isn't over. Now his estate can be sued. Now, Ghislaine Maxwell and all of the names that have already come out, it's time to hold them accountable.